Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope. Thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, and those of you who use the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and YouTube, we thank all of you for your continued support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to make certain that I remind all of our listeners and viewers, this is the last week for our FijiWater.com sponsored promo where you will go to WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio at WKAPFaith.com at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time or 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The first three songs that you hear, you got to get them right. The first three songs that you hear, you will list those songs and text them along with your name and your email address on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. One of our listeners and viewers will be selected to win and receive a case of Fiji water from FijiWater.com. Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. So remember, go to WKAPFaith.com. The first three songs you hear at 12 noon or 6 p.m., you will text those songs, the list of those songs, the first three songs you hear, along with your name and your email address to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will select one winner before the end of this month to receive a case of Fiji water from FijiWater.com. And I want to remind all of our listeners and viewers that we, of course, are Facebook Live. We are YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction. Remind all of your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues, continue to encourage them to tune in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. They can go right to YouTube at Daily Divine Direction. If they type that in, it'll pop right up. And we go live every day, Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Monday through Friday for 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who wanted to know how to deal with mood swings. You said your moods fluctuate without reason. You said it's starting to have an impact on your marriage and you want to know what to do about it. So let me first of all say this. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a physician. So I cannot tell you what imbalance is causing your mood swings. Sometimes, but there are some indicators. Sometimes it is, I'll start with as we get older. Sometimes as we age, we have mood swings. Sometimes it's stress that causes people to have mood swings. Sometimes it's simply a loss of direction in your life. It might not cause stress, but it will cause some mood swings. So those are three simple categories that I can think of that would cause your moods to fluctuate. And particularly without reason. So you have to learn to manage your moods. You know, we often call that managing lifestyle, but since you used moods as your category, I'm going to say to you, I'm going to use the analogy, you have to manage your moods. If you know that it's starting to have an impact on your marriage, then that means that you've been dealing with this for a significant period of time, because most men are going to understand that, first of all, women do have mood swings. And sometimes it's an emotional imbalance, sometimes it's a psychological imbalance, sometimes it is just a chemical imbalance. You know, but the reality is most men understand that. But if it's having an impact on your marriage, it's been going on for a significant period of time. So you've got to decide what's more important to you, your mood or your marriage. And then you're going to have to manage that. So when you feel like your moods are going up and down, I'll use that analogy. For whatever reason, you feel that you're having some mood swings or some mood fluctuations that you're not sure where it's coming from, you've got to say to yourself, if there's no reason, if you have no reason, is it really necessary? That's part of how you manage it. And then you may just separate yourself. And I don't mean separate from your marriage, but you might have to go to another room and meditate. You might have to go to another room and pray. You may have to go to another room and just, you know, I don't encourage anyone to spend a lot of time watching television, but find something that will allow you to reduce thought. Because one thing that I will say that, and this is not the absolute, but one thing I will say is that often when people have mood swings, even though it's without a reason, you can identify your thoughts. And you can start to notice what are triggers. You know, there may be something triggering your mood swing. Now, I'm not the mood guru specialist, but I can tell you that you're not the only one that deals with mood swings. There are many people who their moods fluctuate constantly. So don't be so hard on yourself. You just have to manage your moods. Now, the problem for some people, and I'm going to address this so that it can help everyone also. What happens with some people is that when they cannot manage their moods become anger, and they cannot manage their anger. And so they lash out at others. Well, can't do that. And the reason is because it's not healthy. It doesn't lead to a healthy relationship. It leads to a toxic relationship. One thing you don't want, and none of us need, is a toxic relationship. So we all have to do a better job at managing our lifestyle. And that's what we include in the emotions and the moods and, you know, the emotional imbalance and the, you know, mood management. You really have to identify what your triggers are. I know you say it's without reason. You understand that now, so that's an important component, is to understand that that's what you're dealing with. And then you just have to manage the mood. You have to realize that a mood is in a particular moment. And you may be having more moments than others, but a mood comes in a particular moment. You have to manage the mood so that it only lasts for a particular moment. In other words, you don't want to allow your mood swings to linger for hours at a time, days at a time, weeks at a time. You cannot allow that to become part of your life, because it will begin to disrupt the quality of your life, which is the reason that we talk so much about, managing lifestyle, managing time, managing money. We talk about all of those components that make up our lifestyle that will either enhance the quality of our lives or disrupt the quality of our lives. So we have to really focus on exactly the cause of our mood swings, the cause of, why are we being moody? Let me ask that question, and it's a rhetorical question because I know no one can talk back to me. But sometimes we're looking for problems. Sometimes people are moody because they want attention. Look, we cannot do things that are going to disrupt the quality of our lives for whatever reason. But sometimes people are moody just because they want attention. Sometimes people have attitudes because they want attention. Sometimes people are loud and obnoxious because they want attention. They've bought into the theory that the squeaky wheel gets oiled. There's a lot of things we have to do to make certain that we have the best quality of our lives, and part of that is mood management. That means we have to be able to manage our emotions, our psychological well-being. And I tell people this all the time. You've got to take, unless there is the loss of a parent or child, you can take your emotions out of the equation of everything else. Now, loss does come in a lot of categories, and I'm going to touch on one of those when I address another communication today about marriage. Loss can come in different categories, but unless it's a loss of a parent or a loss of a child, in other words, the death of someone, unless that is, and if they're saved, they're not lost because we know where they go. We know where they're going. But I'm saying all of that to say, we really have to learn to take our emotions out of the equation. Because it's where our emotions get involved that disrupt the quality of our lives. Now, I know people say, it's healthy to have emotions and it's healthy to express ourselves, and, expression is a form of emotion. And no, expression is communication. Being able to do that without allowing the emotions to creep in. Just being able to simply have a conversation and not be concerned about how it's going to impact us, and making certain that it's not going to disrupt the emotions of someone else. So all of these components are part of life that we have to learn to manage, and it's really about managing our lifestyle. And so due to this communication, I'm going to talk a little more about managing our lifestyle, because I've seen some communications come in and people are in a very different frame of mind right now about their emotions and about their, the way they're living life. And so I really need to take some time today to talk about lifestyle management for a moment. But before I do that, I have to do a little business for our sponsors, and then I'm going to address another communication, and then we'll talk more about lifestyle today. This segment, first of all, of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, You may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. And this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. So if you are in the market for a new automobile and you desire one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. You will have the opportunity to virtually build out the Porsche you desire to own. And if you are in our area, you can go to PorscheDelaware.com. You can ask to speak to Mike Didio, who is the general manager of PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone assists you in selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you currently own a Porsche and you're just in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com. If you're in our area, ask to speak to Mike Adams, who is the service manager of PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone schedules an appointment for you and that your vehicle is picked up at your home or office and a loaner vehicle is dropped off to you while your vehicle is being serviced, and that your vehicle is returned to you when your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you want to know, why do marriages end after so many years of trying to get things right? You said you would think that would be the person God has joined with you due to the fact that the marriage lasted for such a long period of time. So, you obviously heard me say that. What God joins together, no man can put asunder. God sometimes doesn't join us together with people. We select people. Now, if you've been married for a very long period of time and you then go through a divorce, it doesn't mean, I want you to get this, it could mean that that wasn't the person that God assigned for your life. However, it may not mean that, only because we still have free will. So if you've been married for a very long time, if you've been married for decades, and all of a sudden you decide that, the two of you decide your marriage is going to come to an end, it doesn't mean that that's not the person God assigned for your life. It does mean that you're out of God's will. See, free will means that God's given us the privilege to be free with choice. So, is this the person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Well, you made that decision when you went to the altar. Now, I am the first one to agree that divorce does happen. But when you've been married for a long time and you've been together for a long time, living life, do people outgrow one another? No, sometimes one grows faster than the other, but the other one will grow up. Are you equally yoked? Well, people change when you get married young, but if you don't marry the person God has assigned for your life, divorce is going to eventually happen. So there's a lot of variables here, but there's only one decision that should be made, and that is if you've been married for a very long time and there's no reason for getting a divorce, then all you're doing is exercising free will. When I talk about reason, I'm talking about, physical and emotional abuse. Nobody has to endure that. And if it's not the person God has assigned for your life, those things will happen. But you got to know this. If you've been married for and in your communication you did indicate how long you've been married. You had been married before the divorce. he was exercising free will. That wasn't the will of God. That was the will of man. That was the will of your husband, his free will, deciding that he no longer wanted to be married, and you agreeing that if he didn't want to be married to you, then go on his way. Instead of I've got to do this because in our culture so often, and this isn't just our culture, but it's man as a whole, because you think about it, the divorce rate in America is approximately 50%. That means approximately 50% of the marriages that occur don't last. But having said that, here's the bigger issue. And that is that if we are going to the altar with the person that God has appointed and assigned for our lives, then all we have to do when we feel like we've outgrown one another, or we feel like we don't want to do it because personalities have changed, or somebody's become the grumpy spouse and has always got a bad attitude, and all of those things, those are brought on by a lot of different reasons, a lot of variables. But it doesn't mean the marriage has to end. Sometimes you just have to accept that people go through changes, and just have a conversation, or not. Sometimes it doesn't even require a conversation. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, it is what it is. And this too shall pass. We exercise free will, and then we get out of God's will. And what I want to encourage us all to do is to live each and every day with the purpose of being in God's will. If we can do that, we're going to have a better quality of life. So let me follow that with lifestyle management, having a better quality of life. Lifestyle management is really making certain that we are whole in our body, mind, and spirit. That we are making certain that we stay healthy, that we're doing all the necessary things to ensure that we're getting good health care, we're monitoring our numbers, we know our numbers, we're doing all of the things that we can to keep our body healthy. Now, there are some things we don't have any control over, but we can do our part. Simple little things that we can do to manage our lifestyle. So, I'll share. I weigh myself every single day. I said, know your numbers. You don't have to do that. My wife doesn't weigh herself every day. But my wife has better eating habits than I have. So everybody's got to do their thing that's going to be best for them. So my wife she weighs herself, but she doesn't have to weigh herself every day. And the reason is because she's not going to really eat anything that's not good for her. I, on the other hand, like some things that are probably not, and we've been told are not good for us. I like French fries. Don't eat them all the time, but I will eat them. I enjoy desserts. Nobody should eat as many desserts as I probably eat. Over time, I've stopped from time to time just to improve my health and wellness, but I like desserts, so I'm going to eat them. And one of the reasons that I weigh myself every day is so that I know exactly where I am. Because if not, it's real easy to go over the margins that you've set for yourself. That's what I mean when I say, being whole in your body, mind, and spirit. So that's a real simple thing you can do to manage the body. And I exercise pretty much 5 days a week. I'm going to get some form of exercise in pretty much 5 days a week. Okay, so that's something I'm doing for my body. My mind, I read a lot. I am constantly absorbing more information. I meditate, read my scriptures every day. I pray. Those are all good things for the mind. Now, some of those will spill over into making certain that it's good for the spirit. And what's good for the spirit is that every day we're seeking God, meaning we're trying to enhance our relationship with the Lord. That's important. Certainly important to me. So I encourage everyone, those are things that we can do that will help us to be whole in our body, mind, and spirit. Now, all of those things that I just named are things that you can do inside your home or at the gym, or just simply going out to run, or to play golf, or to do things that you enjoy doing. All of those things are going to enhance your body, mind, and spirit. But then you have to deal with people in the outside world. So that's another component of managing our lifestyle. And how do we do that? One of the things that I pray for every day is that God will ensure. So I pray for daily divine direction. I pray for all of the communications that come in. But I pray myself also that God will give me the right thing to say, the right things to think, the right things to say, and the right things to do. That's all I can. The rest I have to trust God. But we've got to do our part. So there's life and death we know in the power of the tongue. So what you say, and as a man thinketh, so is he. What you do, and all that you do unto the Lord in word and in deed. So you've got to know that all of what comes from the heart, because from the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. Because as soon as you say or do something that is out of your character, it is going to have an impact on the quality of your life. Now, none of us are perfect. So I don't want anyone to get that impression that, every little thing we do is God's just waiting, sitting on the throne, waiting to throw thunderbolts down at us to get us on track. No, that's not who he is. But he will allow some things to occur to get us back on track. And some things, we laughed about this in Bible study last week. Job, who the Bible says was righteous in his generation, was minding his own business. And here comes the enemy. Well, life happens to us all. But it's how we respond, and it's what we do that is going to allow us to continue moving forward. It's going to allow us to enhance the quality of our lives. So we have to be mindful about that. Lifestyle management encompasses everything. It encompasses our careers. It encompasses our family life. It encompasses every fiber of our being, because it is managing our lives to create a style that we are comfortable with. So I'm going to encourage all of our listeners and viewers to let's be intentional as we move forward in the remainder of this year. Let's be intentional about managing our lifestyle. Let's be intentional about making certain that we get the best quality of life that we can create for ourselves. Let's make that a priority for the remainder of this year. And see at the end of the year just how blessed we've been. We were talking a lot yesterday after service about being intentional. Everything has to be done with intent. So let's be intentional about working on managing our lifestyle effectively and efficiently. And let's become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. Today's Daily Divine Direction 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. I look forward to being in your viewing environment tomorrow. Remember, for all of our listeners and viewers, this is the last week. Go to WKAPFaith.com. The first 3 songs you hear at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Daylight Time or 6 p.m. List those 3 songs along with your name and your email address. Text them on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992